First at 9.
A very good evening to you and welcome to the News at 9 live from the News First Centre in Colombo. I'm Nadim Majid. Maldivians will go to polls tomorrow to elect a new president.
On News First, Ramesh Irugal Bandar will have a comprehensive report on the preparations ahead of the elections there. I'm Stephanie Lazarus. Before we go into your stories in detail, let's now take a look at the headlines.
The headlines on News First at 9.
Chief suspect in the murder of Lasantha Wickrematunge released on the instructions of the Attorney General. Former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca says that he was aware of a gang that committed crimes including the murder of Lasantha Wickrematunge. Courts issues notice of interim injunction and summons on the Kiangnam company for breach of agreement. K. Madhivanan resigns from his post as Vice President of SLC.
News First at 9.
On to those stories in detail now.
The chief suspect in the assassination of the editor-in-chief of the Sunday Leader newspaper, Lasantha Wickrematunge, who was arrested and then released on bail, has been acquitted by Mount Lavinia Chief Magistrate Ranga Wimalasena on the instructions of the Attorney General.
Lasantha Wickrematunge was murdered by a group of assassins on the 8th of January 2009 near the Athidia Model Primary School. The Police Terrorism Investigation Unit arrested a garage owner from Nuwara and an Army Intelligence Officer in connection with the assassination. The garage owner died while imprisoned and the Army Intelligence Officer was released on bail. Following submissions made to the Attorney General regarding the investigation into the assassination, the Attorney General had instructed that the Army Intelligence Officer be acquitted. The officer of the Terrorism Investigation Unit making submissions today said that the suspect that has currently been produced in connection with this case is to be released on the instruction of the Attorney General and requested that court grant the suspect an acquittal. At every instance, I have spoken on behalf of the rights of the deceased, noting that the police have failed to arrest a proper suspect in connection with this inhuman assassination that was carried out on a road used by thousands of people. The only suspect left has now been released on the instructions of the Attorney General. The case is to be taken up again on the 6th of December following further investigations. A senior journalist, politician and humanitarian, Lasantha Wickrematunge was a multi-talented individual. He started the Sunday Leader newspaper with the intention of uncovering truth. Lasantha did not fall back on exposing the guilty through his newspaper, regardless of which social strata they hailed from. A man who always raised his voice against injustice, Lasantha's forays into investigative journalism amassed not only his enraptured audience but his critics alike. In 2000, he was presented an award by Transparency International for his work. He was also a recipient of the Louis Leon Award presented by the Nieman Foundation of Harvard University. His excellence is affirmed by the numerous national and international awards that were conferred on him.
Let's now take a look at some of the views expressed on the Satana political debate that was telecast on our sister channel Sirsa TV yesterday.
Following the grievous assault on the defense correspondent of The Nation newspaper, Keith Noya, in May 2008, and the vehicle chase and assault of journalists Namal Pereira and Mahinda Ratnavira in the Colombo city, Lasantha Wickrematunge was assassinated in January 2009, and 2 weeks later, the editor of the Rivera newspaper, Upali Thennakoon, was assaulted outside his home. No one has said that politicians are responsible for any of these incidents. Organizations at the time were saying that the government is indirectly responsible for this. These were incidents where the outside world became aware of a certain force within the government that is not under control. When these incidents took place, you held one of the highest positions in national defense. There is suspicion that there was a person or groups beyond the government who were involved in these incidents of assault and abduction. What is the truth behind this?
The truth, Suranga, is that these incidents did take place. Those are not the only ones. There were plenty more. Ravi Raj was killed. Maheshwaran was killed. We see all of this as the work of one gang. There definitely was one gang.
When you were serving, you had identified that there was such a gang.
Definitely. Everyone in the country knew it. Someone was behind these murders. As per the knowledge and experience I had, I knew that someone was running a gang and doing these things. I believe that there has continuously been a gang which engages in work like this.
Moving on to more local news, the case filed against Kiangnam Lanka Private Limited and Kiangnam Enterprises by the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited over the violation of a contract pertaining to the construction of a luxury apartment complex in Colombo was considered in the Colombo District Court today.
Considering submissions made by lawyers appearing for the plaintiff, Colombo District Court Judge Pradeep Hettiarachi issued notice of an interim injunction to Kiangnam Lanka Private Limited.
Now issuing summons on Kiangnam Enterprises, the judge ordered both companies to be present in court on the 20th of September.
Kiangnam Lanka Private Limited and Kiangnam Enterprises reached an agreement with the Capital Maharaja Organisation in 2006 to construct the luxury apartment complex Dawson Grand at Dawson Street in Colombo 2. In keeping with this contract, construction was to be completed within 5 years. Filing this case in court, the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited noted that both companies had failed to complete construction within the agreed time frame. The organisation sought an order from court compelling both companies to pay compensation of $40 million. Appearing for the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited in court today, President's Counsel S.A. Prarthalingam noted before Colombo District Court Judge Pradeep Hettiarachi that the defendants had informed his client on the 17th of September 2012 that they could not continue with the project due to a lack of funds. In order to prove that both defendant companies had failed to complete the project, President's Counsel S.A. Prarthalingam also showed photographs in court today depicting the abandoned constructions at the site of the Dawson Grand. Considering the submissions made, the District Court Judge Pradeep Hettiarachi noted that there is a legal premise for a case to be filed against the two defendant companies. Accordingly, the judge issued summons on Kiangnam Lanka Private Limited and Kiangnam Enterprises, directing them to appear in court on the 20th of September. On the instructions of Attorney at Law G.G. Arul Pragasam, President's Counsel S.A. Prarthalingam, Attorney at Law Niskan Prarthalingam and Attorney at Law Niranjan Arul Pragasam appeared for the plaintiff, the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited.
K. Madhivanan says that he decided to resign from the post of Vice President of Sri Lanka Cricket due to pressure being exerted from above beyond his control.
Now he added that pressure was being exerted on him to withdraw from contesting for the post of President of the Colts Cricket Club, for which elections are being held tonight.
Thereby Nishantha Ranatunga will be appointed as President of Colts Cricket Club, uncontested.
K. Madhivanan, a student from Hardley College in Jaffna, came into first-class cricket through the Saracen Sports Club. Incidentally, he held the post of president of the Colts Cricket Club since 2001, uncontested.
Yeah, the reason being is because actually I've been the president for the last 12 years of the Colts Cricket Club, and I have built, I'm out of my own personal fund. I have done a lot of work for club. I think most of the people know how the club was and how the club is now at the moment.
K. Madhivanan, who entered the Sri Lanka Cricket Administration in 2005, has served as its secretary and vice president.
I got the majority votes out of 144. I got 113 votes. And anyway, I must say that I'm very, very sad to say that I had to go off from cricket.
Why did K. Madhivanan suddenly decide to tender his resignation from the post of vice president? It is beyond my control. I lost control, so I decided to resign. I am sad to withdraw from the contest. This is the reality. December 2008, Arjuna Ranatunga resigns as President of Sri Lanka Cricket. D.S. De Silva appointed as interim President. Nishantha Ranatunga appointed Secretary. SLC Elections 2012. Thilanga Sumathipala's faction withdraws at the final moment. Pressure from those with the blessings of the gods. Mohan De Silva, a candidate from Thilanga's faction. Upali Dharmadasa appointed President of SLC. Secretary Nishantha Ranatunga. SLC Elections 2012. They say there is democracy in the country. We are not sure whether it is going in a democratic fashion. A lot of people are saying that pressure is being brought to bear. Michael De Souza, candidate for the position of Secretary of SLC. SLC Elections 2013, Tilanga Sumitipala's nomination rejected. Nominations of Upali Dharmadasa and Sumitar Pereira for the post of SLC President also rejected. Jayanta Dharmadasa appointed President uncontested following recommendation of the SLC Exco and ministerial approval. Today, K. Madhivanan resigns as President of SLC. Pressure was exerted from above for me not to contest the presidency of Colts Cricket Club. A statement from K. Madhivanan. Nishantha Ranatunga appointed President of Colts Cricket Club uncontested.
The Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has rejected reports that the High Commissioner planned to pay floral tributes to slain LTTE members during her visit to Sri Lanka as baseless.
The BBC Tamil service quoted the spokesperson of the OHCHR, Rupert Colville, as saying that it was traditional for the High Commissioner to pay floral tribute during visits to war-torn nations to all those who were slain in the war.
The BBC Tamil Service report notes that local media reported that the UN Human Rights Chief Navi Pillai planned to pay floral tribute to persons who were killed in the final stages of the war in Vellamuli Vaikal during a visit to Sri Lanka. The report notes that Minister of External Affairs Professor G.L. Peiris too had mentioned this at a media briefing convened in London recently. The BBC quoted the OHCHR spokesperson as saying that it is traditional for the High Commissioner during visits to war-torn nations that are now at peace to pay floral tributes to all those who were killed in the war. The BBC quotes the OHCHR spokesperson as saying that in keeping with this tradition, Navi Pillai had anticipated paying floral tribute during a visit to Sri Lanka, but that the government of Sri Lanka has misunderstood her intentions when they were informed of this. Rupert Colville said that after studying the clarifications made by the government of Sri Lanka, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights had cancelled paying floral tribute, assuming that it would lead to a misunderstanding. Furthermore, the BBC quoted Colville as saying that it is surprising that the paying of floral tribute has garnered so much attention when there was actually no floral tribute paid.
And up next is the newspaper cartoon of the day. Welcome back to the news. A media briefing on the maiden meeting of the National Movement for Social Justice was held at the Sri Sarananda Vihara in Anuradhapura today.
The meeting is to be held at the Bettarama Vihara in Eppavala on the 11th of this month.
When looking at the current leadership, it is evident that the country is plagued with a myriad of crises. The same applies to the law and everything else. No one has solutions to the problems that have been created. When problems arise, a government has to bear responsibility to ensure that the people are not pressured or harassed. At times, these problems have been created by government authorities themselves. When people speak out about the burning issues in this country, sometimes they are oppressed by the government and are made fearful of saying such things. The concentration of power is the primary cause for this. In order to engage in politics, there must be a country. But if you look at the present situation, it looks like there will be no country and no politics in the future. They have oppressed newspapers, magazines and the electronic media in a dangerous fashion. Journalists have been assassinated and have disappeared. Through this, the people of this country have been deprived of the fundamental democratic right of freedom of expression. The prevailing situation in the country is that newspapers and the electronic media must exercise self-censorship.
Tonight on the segment Words of Wisdom, we take a look at the thoughts of US civil rights movement leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on the topic Justice and Injustice.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., US civil rights activist.